Who's paying for milkshakes?
Now it doesn't matter. Who's just
That's right.
It's
Right.
alumni.
Oh,
Yes, alumni sponsored milkshakes.
okay.
It'll be your committee report and I'll change it.
He's doing it tonight. I'm
Yes.
not getting into
No,
all
you're
the
not.
talk.
No.
That's what we're just discussing.
Nothing for you to report, but just since you're.
Yep.
I'm spreading out over here again. Start pushing my crap over there.
Okay, well, don't worry.
They got in trouble early for sure, yeah.
All right. I'm not too for you today. Okay.
Hello. Hey, Mike.
How are you?
Good. Sorry, I had to call Mike on Saturday because I forgot to call him.
Oh, that's all right.
He always
said
answers.
He might hear from you over the weekend.
He
so.
always answers.
He's good.
He's good that way.
8 days a week.
8 days a week.
Beatles.
You were right.
Yep.
I forgot about that move. I saw that move.
Oh, did you?
I was like, holy
That's
cow.
right.
I was pointing out to the kids as we were
Beatles,
coming back from
okay.
hockey practice the next day, and I'm like, you guys gotta look up there. It's like,
It was really bright.
it was, oh my goodness, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So they got a big
Guys,
hit
I'm
out of
wearing my
that.
progressive.
You're welcome.
Oh,
Next spot the station.
Are you used to them?
Yes, that's on our hit list. Now that
have had them,
Cheers over,
but
we
it
have a
does
little
take some
more
getting
free
used
time in
to.
our lives, so we good to kick
I
them out there
do,
and be like, okay,
but I don't even know the
We
difference.
do this one at 7, not
When
at
you first get
6:59,
them,
right?
there's like
You don't want
yeah,
clouds.
you don't
no,
notice
right,
it.
I could
nice and
read.
clear.
I mean, I can read now.
Weather
That's kind
yesterday
of
was
cool.
like, oh,
My
you're not gonna
glasses
see the
on.
sun for
Those
like
are new?
another couple
Just
days.
today.
It was
Oh,
bright
well,
this
thank you.
morning.
But I had to
So
get
I'm like, guys don't have clothes.
Windows got progressive.
Is he complaining about them?
He likes them, but he
Yeah.
Just a couple days out.
was just
He's
watching
asked
the
you these
news
before.
Yeah, I got a slight headache.
The
Because I think just from the.
All right.
keep us toasty.
Ken tends to wear his lower than he should probably.
It's good to know. I think I have a couple extra minutes. Racing in the car.
I got an update last night. That always makes me so nervous.
So my
Oh,
wife
for
is waiting for the
announcements?
kids up to
No,
6
just like
on your
outside to go see how you're fast.
I know, like,
Just not like, what if it's
am I gonna be able to
all
work
covered?
it?
You mean the operating system? Oh.
Because the kids still can't go.
I hate it when
I
that
know, I saw it this morning, I was like, oh,
When I'm with you guys,
Yeah.
adult.
Where it forces it. Yeah.
No, she's going
Stay
out.
up.
She's,
Yeah.
my daughter
Yeah.
comes home from basketball practice, a couple minutes, and then off the races.
Nice.
They'll
Congratulations.
take a little field trip. Thanks.
6:59.
Ooh,
My mother is calling me. Okay, stop.
prime.
I know, I'm like, she has my calendar. She calls me. She's like, oh, are you supposed to be on book club? I'm just okay. Because, you know, when they babysat, she had our calendar. She should know I'm at the meeting right now.
All
I was,
right.
I was reading.
7 o'clock.
Could go quick.
All right. Good evening. Welcome to this December 4th, 2023 meeting of the Village of the Western Springs Village Board of Trustees. To honor our nation's heroes, and especially to honor the individuals who serve and protect our community, please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you very much. Clerk Timmick, may we have the roll call, please?
Yes, President Rudolph. Trustee Avakian.
Here.
Trustee Chen.
Here.
Trustee Fink.
Here.
Trustee Lewis.
Here.
Trustee Naraki.
Here.
Trustee Terrell.
Here.
All present.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to our public hearing this evening. We're going to begin with the Truth in Taxation public hearing concerning the 2023 Village Property Tax Levy. And Clerk Timmick, can you please acknowledge the publication of public notice in a local newspaper?
Yes, I can confirm the notice was published in the Suburban Life in the November 23rd, 24th edition.
Thank you very much. All right, then moving on to the presentation of the property tax of the 2023 property tax levy. We'll have Village Manager Bear and Director of Finance Sean Mastandona.
Thank you very much. Before you this evening, we have quite a bit of information on our our village budget. I want to thank the board for your guidance as we started with our strategic planning process early this year and moved through a series of meetings at all of your committees. Everyone was so giving of their time, and the feedback we received helped our directors put together their proposals. I want to thank the directors for all of the work they did throughout this process. It is a long process, but one that helps us get to where we are today. Most importantly, I'd like to thank Director of Finance, John Mastandona, who's really wrapped all of this up and put together the presentation you're about to hear this evening. Once John goes through his presentation, we are happy to take any questions or discuss any piece of the budget. The majority of the directors are here, so if there are specific projects you'd like to talk about, we certainly can. I know you have all seen this over and over again over the last few months, so I don't expect any surprises, but this is a nice roll-up. Our Finance Committee has done a great job of vetting all of these things and helping us roll that together. So with that, I will turn it over to Director of Finance, John Mastandona.
Thank you. So our first hearing tonight is on the 2023 property tax levy. The 2023 levy request in totality is $10,637,700. That is split into two parts. One being the Village of Western Springs levy request is $8,703,875, and the Thomas Ford Memorial Library levy request is $1,933,825. The library does not have any authority to levy a property tax, so they are included on our property tax levy. The total property tax increase in this levy request for the Village and Thomas Ford Memorial Library is 4.78%. The Village's total property tax increase is 5.47%, or $451,026. As a non-home rule community, the Village must comply with the Property Tax Extension Limitation Law, also known as PTEL, which limits the increase in property tax to the lesser of 5%, or the increase in the National Consumer Price Index, CPI, for the year preceding the levy year, plus an additional amount for new growth. The Illinois Department of Revenue PTEL for 2023 is 5%. This is due to CPI being 7.5%. And the estimated capture of new growth in this levy request is 1.89%. Any overestimation of new growth will be reduced by the county. And we will also be introducing an ordinance that directs the county to do so. Of the total levy, 26% goes to law enforcement, which includes the contribution to the police pension. 24% to general government, which covers operations. 21% to debt service of general obligation bonds that are voted by referendum. 4% to pensions, which is IMRF. And the 4% recreation and CSPAR is mostly a pass-through levy. It's our amount that we pay CSPAR to be a part of CSPAR. And 3% is contribution to our capital improvement fund. On the slide here is a representation of an estimated tax bill of a house that sold for $650,000 in June of 2023, which is roughly about our median home value. That's a total tax bill of $13,000. And as you can see the makeup here, the Village accounts for 12.4% of this tax bill, with just under 71% going to the school districts, and our other taxing agencies are listed below. The 2023 levy request would be an increase of approximately $88 to this bill. This is also the same demonstration for a house that's in school district number 106. Again, follows the same concept as the district 101. The Village accounts for about 12.3%. This concludes our levy presentation. If the board is in concurrence, then a levy ordinance will be presented for approval at the December 18th meeting. Additionally, 3 other ordinances will need it to be placed on that agenda. One, directing the county to reduce the 2023 levy in a certain manner according to the provision of the tax cap. Also, directing the county to do separate calculations for the village levy and the library levy. And the fourth one, abating the debt service payments of the Series 2015A bonds as an alternate revenue source has been pledged for principal and interest of these bonds. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have tonight, and please reach out if there are any questions that arise before December 18th.
So the $88, that's our portion of that tax bill. That's not the total tax bill. That's just our portion.
Correct. Yes, that is if everything else being constant, which I would assume would not be the case, but everybody else is doing their levy requests at the same time.
Are they all capped like we are? Or is that just, is our cap, you tell, are they capped as well?
Yes. Yep.
School districts?
And if they pass a referendum, they could potentially see the increase go above 5%.
Thank you.
Okay, so then we'll move on then to the motion.
Okay.
So, any questions or comments by the public? Seeing and hearing none. No final questions or comments from the board? If none, then trustee Chen.
Okay. I will make a motion to place the following items on the December 18th, 2023 Village Board meeting agenda for final action and approval. An ordinance of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Western Springs, Cook County, Illinois, providing for the levy, assessment, and collection of taxes for the year 2023 property tax levy. Ordinances directing the Cook County Clerk's Office to reduce the 2023 property tax levy in a certain manner according to the provisions of the tax cap. Tax levy abatement ordinances for outstanding bonds. And I guess I need to ask for a second to that motion of those parts.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, all right, very good. And then roll call vote, please.
Yes, President Rudolph. Trustee Avakian.
Aye.
Trustee Fink.
Aye.
Trustee Naraki.
Aye.
Trustee Tiro.
Aye.
Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Trustee Chen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Very good, thank you very much.
Great, and then I will make a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
And again, may we have a roll call vote to close the public hearing, the first
Yes.
public hearing?
Trustee Avakian.
Aye.
Trustee Fink.
Aye.
Trustee Naraki.
Aye.
Trustee Tiro.
Aye.
Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Trustee Chen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Very good, thank you very much. Now we return back to the agenda and we'll now call the second public hearing, and this concerns the 2024 operating budget. Is our next item up. And again, calling that to order, and Village Clerk Timmick, can you confirm everyone is still in attendance?
I can ascertain nobody has escaped, yes.
Thank you very much. And similarly, for this as well, can you please provide acknowledgement of the publication of this public hearing?
Yes, I can confirm that this notice was also included in the 11/23 and 11/24 edition of the Suburban Life.
Very good, thank you very much. And again, we will go to Village Manager Bear for the 2024 annual budget.
Yes, we'll just continue on with the presentation with Director Maston-Donut. Thank you.
I am pleased to present the 2024 proposed budget for your review and eventual approval at the December 18th, 2023 meeting. Committees have reviewed their respective departments, and the Finance Committee has reviewed the budget in its entirety. This shows all the funds included in this budget. There are 17 funds that each serve a specific purpose to the village. There's $42,865,003 of expenditures, supported by $43,268,885 in revenue. Couple of funds to point out in this chart is the second one, Recreation Fund. You could see that expenditures exceeds revenue in that account, and also Special Purpose Reserve Fund. As we see this, a lot of it has to do with capital improvements that are being expended in the 2024 budget. This is using fund balance that built up over time. And the $1 million in the special purpose reserve fund is the remainder left as part of the meter change out. We used funds from the American Rescue Plan Act for half of it, and policy was decided to use special purpose reserve funds for the other half. This is categorization of total revenue of just over $43 million. It's consistent with our village demographics and being almost entirely a bedroom community, being 95% residential. It is heavily reliant on property taxes. As discussed in the levy presentation, the village is required to contribute to the police pension fund, which is about 22% of the total village levy in this coming year. Property taxes provide about 21.5% of total revenue. Proceeds of long-term debt will be discussed in more detail later in this presentation, but is about 18% of total revenue in 2024. Sales tax, state, local government, distribution fund, and licenses and permits have been strong in recent years for the village. It is projected that this will continue into 2024. These are items that may be impacted on a downturn of the economy. The village continuously monitors these items along with all items in case an adjustment is needed mid-year. Interest income was very strong in 2023 with the Fed rate being extremely high. This budget projects interest income will remain strong, but not as strong as this current year. Projections have that rate might start to decrease first or second quarter, maybe even third. But 2023 was a very strong year that we don't anticipate seeing it that strong again for the full year. A significant portion of the 2024 expenditures, 31%, is allocated to capital infrastructure projects that will be covered later in this presentation in more detail. Salaries and benefits amount for 29%, including pension contributions. This is typical of a municipality of our size. The chart also breaks out non-discretionary expenditures. The village is obligated to repay all debt and provide police and fire benefit payments. And going on to a few different specific funds. The general fund serves as the village's operations fund. Increases in revenues is property taxes of about 6%. There are no new fees and no increase to fees currently budgeted. Expenditures that had significant movement was health insurance increased 8.05%. Police pension contribution was just under a 20% increase for this upcoming year, and the IMRF pension contribution is about 10% increase for 2024. This is just a comparison of 2023 to 2024. About a 3-year increase. IMRF is decreased about 10% compared to 3 years ago, and the police pensions increase is about 12% compared to 3 years ago. For the general fund revenue, I just want to point out a couple revenue streams: property taxes, income taxes, general sales and use taxes, and the license and permits. Any decreases in those revenue streams would have a significant impact on village's operations. And a portion of sales tax of goods purchased within the village stays here at the village. That is 1%. So 1 million in sales equates to $10,000 being directly to the village. And a very important part of our sales tax revenue is local businesses. The village highly values these businesses and what they offer our community, and I encourage residents to support them and shop locally whenever possible, especially this holiday season and especially throughout the whole year. This is a breakdown of expenditures within the general fund. It's consistent with previously discussed items. Majority allocation goes to salaries and benefits. This is similar to other municipalities and other companies that are in the service industry, and that being about 54%. This shows the general and capital improvement funds by department. The general and capital improvement funds provide total cost of day-to-day operations and services to the village. This budget is committed to the same level of services that have always been provided, and there are no service cuts included in this budget. The capital improvement fund, a couple of items I want to highlight. The second one, the $878,500 in building and land improvements. This includes the crosswalk on Burlington Avenue coming from the west underpass, and also public works material storage. Of the $298,000 in office equipment and furniture that is included in that is village IT requirements, including software and security. The roadway construction fund, there are no new projects budgeted for FY 2024 if funds have been depleted. Historically, general obligation referendum bonds have been issued to fund roadway construction, and the last referendum was passed in 2016, and all funds have been expended in 2023. Roads are included in our capital infrastructure study, and as President Rudolph previously spoke to, funding these projects will be a policy decision made in the future that considers funding type, timing, and the impacts. The 2024 MFT program is estimated to be a total cost to the village of just over $280,000 and is subject to grant funding availability. The budget is only reflecting the village's local match, but it is on Hampton Avenue between Hillgrove Avenue to Ogden Avenue, and this is a resurfacing. Water systems projects of note is the Springdale water main replacement of $500,000, the remaining water meter replacement program of $910,000, and the continuation on the sewer side of our overhead sewer program, which is a reimbursements for residents who qualify. And this shows a significant investment being made in our aging infrastructure. Our new fund is a stormwater utility fund, and some projects included in this budget is the Flag Creek outfalls and some other repairs to the sewer system. But I want to notate the first two, the Springdale Detention Basin and Ridgewood Upsizing Project. These projects are dependent on funding. Previous direction and included in this budget is issuing alternate revenue bonds. And what that is pledging a revenue stream, which we would use a stormwater utility fee potentially, to pay for future debt service of the bonds, and that means it would have no effect on the property tax levy. Board action would be needed and anticipated to happen in the spring of 2024 if we were going that route, for these projects to happen in the summer of 2024. These two projects are also included in our capital improvement study. And here are two maps of those projects, the Springdale project being focused around the park, and the Ridgewood project. This shows the funding levels of our police and fire pension. On the bottom is 2022, our last actuarial valuation date. The police pension decreased due to investments having a rough year, dropped down to 55.63%, and the fire pension down to 72.16%. And as a reminder, our goal is to be fully funded for the police pension fund by 2033. This concludes the 2024 budget presentation for the Village of Western Springs. An ordinance will be needed to be placed on the December 18th, 2023 meeting. And any adjustments needed throughout the year will be approved by ordinance as budget amendments or transfers. And at this time, I would like to introduce Ted Bodavis, the director of the Thomas Ford Memorial Library, to present on behalf of the library.
Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you, John. Hi, I'm Ted Bodavis. I'm the director of the Thomas Ford Memorial Library. Thank you very much for having us. Also joining me is Jean Carroll, the treasurer of the library board. We're here this evening to present the library's levy request for fiscal year 2024. The Library Board of Trustees is proposing our levy request for the fiscal year as summarized on your handout, and I think there's, and on the slide. For fiscal year 2024, the library operating levy is $1,458,124. Expenditures from this fund include salaries, benefits, insurance, supplies, media expenditures, and a contingency. The library building and maintenance levy this year is $166,071, which does not exceed the 0.02% of anticipated EAV as stipulated by law. Our expenditures from this fund include contractual services, building supplies, furniture and equipment, and a contingency. The IMRF levy for fiscal year 2024 is $61,200. We also have a bond levy in the amount of $248,430 for the repayment of our general obligation bonds approved by voters in 2018. The total amount of the Thomas Ford Memorial Library levy is $1,933,825, which represents a 1.94% increase over last year's final levy amounts. Also included in your packet is a summary budget for the new year. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from any of the trustees?
What would the Timber Trails Fund be?
So that's a great question. When Timber Trails was built, they paid an impact fee to the taxing bodies. So we received like a lump sum for the increased service that would be required for all of the families moving in, theoretically en masse, to Timber Trails. And we still have a residual in that fund.
Okay,
So.
thanks.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All right. Any questions or comments from the board? Thank you, Director Mastanjona. Really good presentation. I appreciate the highlights that you pointed out along the way in addition to the detail that you shared on the screen. Especially noting kind of the pension impact, as well as just also explaining again kind of the alternate revenue bonds that we're anticipating to use for the Springdale and the Ridgewood projects. I think it's an important point about that kind of funding, and that there will be no impact on the residents or their tax bills when we would actually adopt such bonds. Am I using the right term?
Yes, they would be, it would be approved by the board, and then we would issue those bonds. And as we discussed previously, it allows us to be able to take on a large project without building up those funds over time. So it's kind of being able to spend that money and then be able to pay for it off that revenue stream going forward, versus kind of just collecting for years on years before we could actually have that much capital to be able to really take on a project of that magnitude.
Very good, thank you. And then also to your point too about the past roadway referendums, and that those, the 2016, the most recent one of those, that the funds at this point are expended. There isn't anything left.
Yes, that is correct. And nothing has been directly really pointed out for future funding of those any roadway construction.
All right. Yeah, very good.
MFT comes from the state, or is it federal?
MFT is the state. We've always previously used that for our resurfacing projects.
That's Hampton, that's all right.
Yes, correct.
Okay. questions? No? Okay. Any?
I want to applaud, I want to second what you said and applaud, like, these are still uncertain times and costs and all of the services that we offer. So I just want to applaud Manager Bear and all the directors. It's a challenging time, but we all walked through it in all of our committees, and it made really good sense to me when I was walking through the budget. So appreciate all the hard work.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you again, Again, Director Mastandona for guiding everybody through the process, and that overall, each of the committee meetings and the reviews by the directors, everybody was very, very well prepared with, I think, appropriate level of detail for each of the committees and for the whole board, and a really smooth process this year.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very
Pleasure.
much. Any questions by the public or public comment? Okay, seeing and hearing none. No final questions. Okay, and if that, Trustee Chen.
Okay. I will make a motion to place the following items on the December 18th, 2023 Village Board meeting agenda for final action and approval. An ordinance approving the Village of Western Springs fiscal year 2024 operating annual budget for fiscal year 2024, beginning January 1st, 2024 and ending December 31st, 2024. And an ordinance approving amendments to the fiscal year 2023, January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023 Village of Western Springs annual budget. Do you want me to say a second, or do you want to say a second?
Is there a second?
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
All right, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, President Rudolph. Trustee Vacan.
Aye.
Trustee Fink.
Aye.
Trustee Naraki.
Aye.
Trustee Tyrrell.
Aye.
Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Trustee Chen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Very good, thank you very much. And then
And
a
then,
motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
And I
I'll
will
second.
second.
Okay, thank you.
And again, may we have a roll call vote?
Yes, Trustee Vacan.
Aye.
Trustee Fink.
Aye.
Trustee Naraki.
Aye.
Trustee Tyrrell.
Aye.
Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Trustee Chen.
Aye.
That motion also carries.
Very good, thank you very much. All right, thanks everyone. We'll now return to the agenda for the December 24th, December 4th, 2023 workshop board meeting. Wow, this month is already going too fast. Do we have any citizen comments? Anything that has come in? Anything? Okay, seeing and hearing none. We will move on then to our committee reports, and I'll begin with Properties and Recreation. Trustee Avakian?
I have no report, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Then moving to Finance, Trustee Chen.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Well, the first item under the Finance Committee's report is the tax levy and budget items, and we've already discussed those in the public hearings, and those items will be placed on the vote that we'll take at the second meeting in December. The second item, the ordinance approving a budget amendment and transfers over $10,000 to the fiscal year 2023 operating budget in the general fund. And I'll just note in all of the trustees' packets, these were detailed and we discussed them at length in the Finance Committee. I'm just going to highlight just a couple. First of all, the budget amendment that we've discussed at length for the to utilize TIF funds for the design engineering along Burlington Avenue. That's one of the amendments, and we've discussed that as a board. And then there were further transfers within the municipal services, but in the water production fund, there are a few amendments. Mainly the biggest amendment was for additional utility charges related to AEP Energy and Nicor Gas. And another large-ish, amendment for $65,000 that was related to increased costs for chemical purchases and application for water production. And I think that's, the other transfers were smaller amounts. I think those are the ones that I wanted to highlight to the board. And those will be on the omnibus.
Any questions for any trustees? All right.
Okay, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee
Thank
Chen.
you.
All right, Public Works and Water, Trustee Pink.
All right, thank you. Let me read this. Public Works was recommending the resolution authorizing a waiver of the competitive bid process and approving and authorizing the execution of a design and build contract agreement with V3 Construction Group Ltd. In the amount of $300,000 for the performance of design engineering services, permit services, and construction services to design and construct the 2024-25 Flag Creek Stormwater Sewer Outfall Project. So this has been going on for the past 2 years. It started in Ridgewood and it's working its way north. It's the same budgeted money. It's a little more just because it's 2 years worth of money versus 1 year worth of money. I'm just recommending V3 because they've done the project in the past and they've had good results and they are intimately aware of how the project, what has to happen with the project. And the next two, any questions about that? The next two I'll just kind of read and we'll kind of discuss. We've discussed these a couple times before. The first one's a resolution authorizing the approval of the expenditure of village local matching funds for the Burlington Avenue resurfacing project, Burlington Avenue resurfacing Wolf Road to Central Avenue, that may be funded through the West Central Municipal Conference Surface Transportation Program, and approving the execution and submittal of an application for federal participation IDOT Surface Transportation Program by the Village of Western Springs for the project. And I'll just roll it right into the next one. Resolution authorizing the approval of the expenditure of village matching funds for the Hampton Avenue resurfacing project, Hampton Avenue resurfacing Hillgrove Avenue to Ogden Avenue, that may be funded through the West Central Municipal Conference Surface Transportation Program, and approving the execution and submittal of an application for the federal participation IDOT Surface Transportation Program by the Village of Western Springs for the project. That's a very long-winded resolution, but this is things we've discussed in the past. So we went out to bid. The West Central Municipal Conference had a bid for construction projects, and one of our projects got selected. 2 of them were put on the contingency list. So this is just a resolution supporting that we state the project, because this is for 2028 and 2029. So the roads would be, it'd be Hampton Avenue, Hillgrove to Ogden. So it'd be a estimated $1,031,417. Since it's an 80-20 split, the village's portion would be $206,000. The other one is Burlington Avenue, Wolf to Central. The total project is $560,000, and our portion will be $112,000. So again, you can use this money only for certain roads. So this is why we would rather have this fund pay for it than us.
But just to clarify, so wait, these are already approved, or this is we're waiting approval?
We're waiting. So if we get the grant, just that we will pay the bill in 2028 and 2029.
The match part.
The matching part,
is
yes.
what we are, as a board, what we are considering.
Exactly, yes.
Okay. Okay.
And the last item is the enterprise
Trustee
lease
Pink,
agreement.
Could Director Koza give a quick piece on that, just to clarify?
Yeah, so as Trustee Fink mentioned, these were projects we had submitted previously. They're on the contingency list. So every 2 years, WCMC does a new call for projects. In order to keep the projects eligible for potential funding, we have to reapply all of our contingency projects. So we are actively pursuing both of those projects through possible additional funding to come into the council through the shared fund from CMAP. But we have to reapply, even though we're going after that funding for next year. For whatever reason that doesn't come through, we want to keep these projects on the list. So we're essentially reapplying. So technically we are applying for 28 and 29, but hopefully this get funded next year. At the same time, we don't want to have that not happen for some reason, and then we don't have them on the list at all. So we're just reapplying. Very confusing, admittedly, but that's just the way. That's the way this one's working.
Thank you. Thank you.
The last item is the enterprise lease agreement. This was discussed at our committee, but they didn't have any prices. So I'd like Director Schubert to elaborate on this.
Yes, thank you, Trustee Fink. So in front of the board this evening, you have a cover memo along with some lease pricing information regarding 2 pickup trucks. As the board's aware from our discussions earlier this year, we've had quite a bit of difficulty securing vehicles as part of our fleet purchasing and maintenance program. Earlier this summer, we had to do a budget amendment for $50,000 to purchase a vehicle that we originally hoped to do a lease for. We weren't able to successfully do that. We had an opportunity arise from Enterprise, who we partner with for some of our leasing vehicles. For the 2024 budget that Director Macedonia just went over, we budgeted $60,000 for the replacement of a Ford F-150 for next year as part of our fleet. We have an opportunity that came up that Enterprise approached us on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So unfortunately, timing-wise, we weren't able to get the actual documents into the committee packet for discussion and action, but we did give a verbal update. There are 2 vehicles that Enterprise has that are available for lease that had fallen through from another client that they were working with. They're 2 Ford F-150s. They are a dark blue color. They're not a white color. But we wanted to bring to the committee and to the board for discussion whether we wanted to pursue and look into those vehicles. They would, because they're lease vehicles and that would be a purchase, they would be as part of our 2024 budget process, and they would slip into the vehicle that we have tentatively scheduled for replacement next year, and then potentially get us ahead for our 2025 replacement for Ford F-150. Those are vehicles number 3 and number 5 in our fleet. The total for the lease would be about $19,000 per year for the 2 leases, so it would actually come under what our overall purchase price would be. There are some considerations that I think the board should maybe discuss this evening. In addition to some of the coloring, which would not be out of turn with how we have some of our fleet vehicles set up, especially some of our supervisor vehicles. One of the goals we wanted to look into as we move forward with some of our purchasing is hybrid vehicles and other options along those lines. These vehicles that they have available are not hybrid vehicles, but you'll notice in the pricing that there is some additional discount because they fell through from a previous lease agreement that Enterprise was having. So we wanted to open it up for the board for consideration and get direction so we can go back to Enterprise. If the board does want to move forward with these lease agreements, we would recommend then putting these on for approval on the December 18th board meeting, which would go in approval in tandem with the 2024 budget. And then we could also then go back to Enterprise to coordinate then for securing the vehicles in January with the 2024 budget. The one caveat with that, though, is the vehicles can't be held until there's an executed lease agreement. So there is a possibility in the next 2 weeks that if another client that works with Enterprise does secure the vehicles ahead of us, we could lose these 2, and then we would just be in our regular coordination process as part of the 2024 budget in the next year.
Can I just make a point? You did say even though these weren't, because the goal is to go all green eventually with all of our vehicles, and even though these aren't, they have some benefits, right? Don't they have some environmental benefits?
Well, these are a smaller V6 engine. So in terms of the size of engines that you have for Ford F-150s, the non-hybrid, this is the most fuel efficient of that class. Now, the Ford F-150s do have hybrid options. We actually have a couple of those in our fleet now. So we're trying to look at those options, and we noted in the memo we presented back, and I think in August, moving forward, when we have opportunities that arise, we'd like to present the pricing options for both hybrid and regular vehicles and weigh those options as we bring those through our committees for approval and consideration. This particular opportunity we wanted to jump on if the opportunity arose, because these are vehicles that could be secured rather quickly.
So we were gonna buy one for $60,000, but now we can lease 2 for $19,000 per year.
Correct.
And how long is the term of the lease? Is it 3 years?
Ooh, I believe it's longer than that. 5, yeah, so it's 5 years, yeah.
All right, and was the one that we were gonna purchase, what'd you say, Ford F, was that a hybrid? F-150?
For the one for next year?
We're gonna buy.
Well, we haven't gone through the option of looking at pricing for that yet, because we had wanted to wait till the budget was approved. So we would look at options for that. Now, for the purchasing options, we would of course approach Enterprise to see what options they have for leasing, but we'd also look and approach some dealerships for direct purchasing pricing. As we reported earlier this year, the state's joint purchasing program no longer exists, so we have to go direct to dealerships to coordinate on some of those items.
So we could buy these if they worked out well.
These particular ones through Enterprise, they do have a lease to own option as part of these agreements. So we can always trade those vehicles out as part of the lease, or again, and we work with Enterprise on a case-by-case basis as we turn out some of those vehicles.
And you said they were blue?
Yes, they are dark,
Color?
they are like a dark blue.
Does that matter?
In my opinion, it doesn't, we would put the village logo on the side of those, but, yeah, most of our fleet is white, but we do have some blue equipment, so like our Vector is a blue and white, dark blue and white as well, so we do have some other pieces of equipment, and of course, our end loader and backhoes, those are like standard Case and Caterpillar yellow, so, we're not a wholly white fleet.
These are pickup trucks, you're gonna get dirty anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
But I guess in terms of being recognized,
Yeah.
it will be kind of different than the other vehicles that would just be kind of on the streets.
Correct.
That the public would encounter.
Correct.
I'm kind of agnostic. I'll go with what the staff and the board recommend. But as far as perhaps purchasing, have financing costs gone up? Like, is leasing a better deal in the current environment, or?
So this leasing setup that we have with Enterprise is a little bit different than a lease you would normally have directly with a dealership. Our particular lease agreement with Enterprise is built around where we would roll out the vehicles every roughly 5 years, and then replace that. And then you'd have a rolling lease cost annually for that same vehicle. So let's say, for example, we're paying $800 per month for a Ford F-150. Even though the lease expires after 5 years, the intent typically would be that we would just continue that lease for a longer period, replace that vehicle with 5 year at the 5th year mark, and bring in a new vehicle. That way we can have kind of a continually updated fleet. One of the largest issues we've had over the past 10 years or so, and one of the reasons why we explored this Enterprise option is a lot of the equipment in the public works realm is very expensive. So our pickup trucks, which are the most entry-level basic line item, are in that $50,000 to $60,000 range. Our equipment even goes expensive beyond that. End loader, backhoe, we're looking at $150,000 plus typically. Our Vector, our most expensive piece of equipment, was about $580,000. We're looking for more opportunities. Instead of having to outlay a huge chunk of money once, we're looking for opportunities where if we can have a lease where it's a reoccurring program, we can budget operationally better for that, and it'll also help us in the long term in terms of programming in our vehicle scheduled replacements.
Okay. Yes. I'm not sure I asked that question properly.
Oh.
Because we're not financing, we would just put the outlay. There's no financing cost to a vehicle, but a lease is
Correct.
slightly different. Okay. But
What's the cost of money, though?
What do you mean?
There's an applied interest rate when you lease. What's the applied cost?
I don't, what do you mean the applied
Whenever
cost?
you lease a vehicle, there's an applied interest rate. What did they tell you the applied interest rate is? 'Cause
I'd have to look up on the sheet. I don't,
Okay.
yeah.
I think that's where trustees.
thank you. Well, and I guess to your point, in 5 years, maybe more environmentally friendly vehicles will be more available.
Well, you guys have had a hard time finding,
Yeah.
like, any inventory,
Yeah.
right?
Right, that's correct.
Okay.
Other questions? So for this meeting or for the next meeting,
So if the board is in concurrence to move forward with this, we would present these two lease agreements for approval at the December 18th meeting.
okay, all right. So,
Do we need a formal motion on that?
or yeah, is this a consensus?
If it's a consensus,
Consensus.
we'll just bring it back on the 18th, on the omnibus.
Trustee Chen?
I think so, yeah. Seems like this is our option.
Yeah, no, I think we appreciate kind of the updates in the past, that this has been difficult to procure vehicles kind of in our normal
Mhm.
course of action. It's been challenging. So, I understand with these coming available and this kind of a different approach, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Again?
Okay,
Yeah? Okay,
okay,
all right, okay.
excellent.
Thank you. All right, very good. Then we will move forward then and put that on the December 18th omnibus. Thank you.
And that's everything for Public Works.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, then moving on to Public Health and Safety, Trustee Lewis.
I do not have a report this evening.
All right, thank you very much. And then Planning and Zoning, Trustee Naraki.
I also do not have a report tonight.
Okay, General Government, Trustee Terrell.
Thank you, Madam President. I do have a short report.
Okay.
And all this talk of finance, I have an actual fun item, at least my first one. It's a liquor license request on behalf of Ella's Italian Pub. It's a proposed full-service restaurant with a patron bar located at 4471 Lawn. That's where V used to exist. It's currently a vacant space. I'm very excited that we're having another new business coming into town. I have to commend Tony and his team for getting this restaurant in. They gave us a very favorable presentation last week. The restaurant will have approximately 30 tables. There's a bar area for patrons. Ella's Italian Pub is part of a larger restaurant group which includes other Ella's Italian pubs and Gia Mia restaurants in Geneva, Wheaton, Downers Grove, Naperville, and Elmhurst. The owner and his business partner came to us last week. They had a very favorable presentation. They have a long and proven track record. The menu is in your packets. I was excited to see this coming. I think the more businesses we have, especially hearing all this about sales tax, the more businesses we have, the better. The reason it's in front of us is because they are seeking a Class B liquor license. That's for the retail sale of alcoholic liquor in a full-service restaurant for consumption on the licensed premises. There won't be any pictures of beer sold, nor will package sales be allowed. We recommended the Class B license request be forwarded to the Liquor Control Commission for further evaluation and recommendations. They have to go through a license check and background check and all things of that nature. We also recommended on their request, if you remember, V had that outdoor seating with, I think it's called a pergola, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So the applicant thought that was a good idea as well, so they're also going to request, it's called a cafe license, they're going to go for that as well. I'm anticipating that the background check and the other considerations of the Liquor Commission will be happening smoothly, and this will be before us sometime early next year. I think he said they were hoping to open, was it March? March. So that's a good thing. The second order of business I have are, did anyone have any questions about Ella's Italian Pub?
Good news.
A lot of good pizza, thin crust pizza, crisp on the outside.
Okay.
Remember certain things in our committee meetings. Not to say that everything else isn't as important. Moving next to the Personnel and Procedures Manual. The Personnel Procedures Manual, it's a comprehensive document that outlines the rules, guidelines, and regulations for the management and administration of our employees. The manual serves as a reference guide for all employees, providing a framework for consistent and fair treatment of personnel. The village manager's office is in the process of completing a comprehensive update to the entire manual, with the first update focusing on the paid leave provisions outlined in Chapter 5. We discussed that a couple of weeks ago. The Paid Employee Leave Act becomes official, I think, on January 1st. The paid leave includes provisions and processes related to the accrual and or usage of vacation, sick, personal, holiday, bereavement, and jury duty time. The proposed changes are in relation to the recent and upcoming changes in Illinois law, as well as changes that improve the village's operations. If anyone had any particular questions about that, Casey or Ellen could answer them. We spent a lot of time on it. It's very, very detailed. It's in the packet. Anyone have any particular questions about that? Okay, you can read it, and it complies with the law, which is coming in place on January 1st. The next item of business is a declaration of surplus IT equipment. You may recall when we have surplus equipment, it's usually done by an ordinance, which we have to pass. Director Schramm has put in a surplus declaration for the prior phone system. 120 digital phones are obsolete with absolutely no resale market. That's the world that we live in. He's also requesting declared as surplus some computers, servers, and storage area networks. It's a shame these things can't be resold, but they become obsolete after a short period of time. So we recommended that the request be considered by the board. The final item I have is an addendum between the Village of Western Springs and Lakeshore Recycling System, that's LRS. That's for the collection of solid waste and leaf disposal program. In 2022, for those of you who were here, we approved an addendum to the waste collection agreement between the village and LRS, whereby LRS would haul the village's leaves to LRS's composting facilities. Before this agreement, village staff stored the leaves out in Public Works, and they had to haul the leaves, we had to haul the leaves ourselves to a farm for composting, costing the village a large amount of overtime hours, wear and tear on the village vehicles, potential liability of these trucks being out at all night, and of course, and most importantly, long work days for our employees. Not to mention, I think the farm was running out of space or had closed. So we agreed, if you remember, about a year ago with LRS to handle these leaves. We had this program where they would take it to their own place. We set the rate at $825 per truckload. However, the number of truckloads needed to dispose the leaves was underestimated. The leaves were very heavy because of the rains. These trucks are measured by their weight, and they quickly reach the maximum weight of these trucks, and LRS has informed us that they can't hold the $825 price per truckload. They are proposing an increase to $950 per truckload due to increased equipment and labor. Staff recommended that we stay with the LRS leaf program, although this will result in an extra $8,000 to $10,000 a year. If you look at what it will benefit us by is the wear and tear on our trucks, overtime hours, potential liability, and again, most importantly, the wear and the extended hours that our employees would have to put in. They'd be driving all night long, bringing these to our own place if we could even find a place to put them. So we recommended that this increase be considered by the village board. Any questions on that one? And that's all I would have. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you very much. We're moving on then to reports. For myself, I have none this evening, so I will pass it to Village Manager Bear.
I just have one item this evening. The Recreation Department is holding their Candy Cane Cordial this weekend, and there are spots still available. We were very surprised that there's a few spots left, so just a reminder that if you want to attend, it's a family event. The kids can visit with Santa. There will be sweet treats, holiday crafts, and a reading of the Polar Express. And kids are welcome to leave a letter with Santa as well. So if you want to register for that event, I would say do it quickly. But there are still a few spots left. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on then to Attorney Jurisic.
Yeah, just a quick report on the pending right-of-way transactions. As you remember, earlier in the year, we were dealing with two right-of-way transactions, one with Mr. Coniff, who's here in the audience, and one with Ray Swappa, adjacent neighbors. 27-foot piece of right-of-way that's part of the 52nd Street right-of-way in the 52nd 100 block of Grand. There are still a few loose ends on these transactions. I had some communications with Mr. Coniff later today. Hope to wrap those up and probably tweak the documents from the last version you saw to some extent. I got to deal with the village engineer as well and Matt Supert on this, but hope to come to some type of accommodation and be back before the board on December 18th with hopefully approval documents that will put both of those transactions back on the path to be wrapped up before the end of the year. No further comments.
Okay. All right. Any other business from any other trustees? Okay. Right, very good. Then hearing none, how about Trustee Terrell? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yes, I have a motion to adjourn tonight's Board of Trustees workshop and meeting.
I second that motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you very much. We're adjourned.
Huge bar. Yeah, so how is it? He said 25
Jim, you don't want to burn those?